Largest pipeline in the United States was allegedly hacked by a Russian cybercriminal gang called DarkSide. How did that happen? Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg is co-chairman at the Center for American Security and the former National Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. General, thanks so much for coming on. A huge breach, no doubt. A lot of folks affected. The state of emergency in North Carolina. The governor of Georgia now pulling back on the taxes on gasoline. This storyline continues, but it's not the first time. What's happening here? Are U.S. companies just not prepared for this? How are you reading it?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks to Newsmax for having me on today as well. Yeah, what you're really seeing here with the Colonial Pipeline, and it's significant. It supplies 45% of the fuel in the eastern seaboard. It's got 267 terminals as it goes up through 13 states. So it's a pretty significant hit, especially consumers are going to find out about that probably today, the next few days out there when some spot shortages will probably occur. What you're really running into right now is an extortion racket. People see this on a ransomware attack when they take control of your systems and then they say, all right, if you want your system to open, we'll give you the encryption key for so much amount of money. We're talking about, in the last 2 years, about a $6 trillion racket out there. So you've got cyber criminals going to where it can hurt economically and where these companies have to pay money to get the encryption key to open their systems back up. That is part of the issues when you have a private network out there that is sometimes not well controlled or well regulated. A lot of people rely on the software programs they have, but let me just give you an example of Microsoft. Microsoft, every Tuesday, monthly, has a patch day where they basically patch their network. That kind of tells you that your software systems, as a general rule, are not really secure. And then when you don't have system administrators taking care of your systems or watching over your systems, it allows vulnerabilities for cyber criminals to get in there. And this is not new. This has been happening all along. So I think we have to step back and figure out why this is happening and how we can affect that. And the reason why you find cyber criminals occurring either in North Korea or in Russia is those societies don't protect those systems. They kind of let those criminals operate. And it's a very lucrative business. I mean, if you're going to be in an extortion business, it's probably a pretty good one to be in going forward. But I think in the future, we have to look at ways to combat this.
Well, let me just go back to, taking in everything that you said. Extortion hacking stands out to me, rather. Is that illegal? I mean, that's where my mind goes. I'm questioning the legality of it because I'm trying to say, well, then if it is, what's the next step? When do you get the feds involved?
Yeah, and it's a great question. It really is. And yes, it's extortion, and it's extortion from overseas. And people generally want to pay the price to get their systems unlocked again. So they're willing to put money out there to do it because it's a business operation. Now, these systems that come from overseas, like DarkSide, we're pretty sure, we can't place it directly, we're pretty sure it came out of Russia. But that's not unusual because criminals can operate in that environment out there. And what you're going to need going forward is a much more concrete, laid out public-private partnership to make sure we can react to those. We have NSA and Cyber Command co-located. General Nakasoni's up there at Cyber Command and NSA. And we need to get them involved and have to have this linkage between the private and public partnership if we want to do something about it. Just relying on software companies to put patches in is not going to work. It hasn't worked in the past. It's not going to work in the future. So the U.S. government has to get involved to a degree on protecting especially our critical infrastructure. And I consider pipelines to be part of that critical infrastructure. Because if you carry it forward, this is a great way for Americans to look at this is if you get hit with a major cyber attack before an attack, a physical attack going forward, it'll cripple all of your systems. And we're just talking pipelines. It could be electrical systems. It can be pipeline systems. It can be your communication system.
Right.
And if they take those out simultaneously, then you've got a significant problem.
Right. Exactly. This opens the door, obviously. But you also pointed out that this is not new. These cyber criminals, and whether it's a small scale or large scale, it is not new. So before you go, what is the likely outcome? If this is not new, obviously things like this have happened before. Are these guys going to pay the ransom? Is that what's probably going to happen?
If I was To make a bet, absolutely, because you cannot get your systems open. You need an encryption key to unlock the systems, and it's going to cost you money to do that. And you saw that the White House kind of deferred. Well, it's a private matter. They basically thrown the ball over the fence, and they said to Colonial, "Oh, this is your problem, not our problem. Mm-hmm. Probably pay the ransom. We don't care if you do or not." But if they hang in there, meaning the criminals, you're going to have to pay for it.
And then if you pay for it, that keeps them in business. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's a $6 trillion business.
All right. I'll leave it right there. It's been a great interview. I think you've been the best one explaining this so far on national television. Thank you so much. Lieutenant General Kellogg, we appreciate it. We'll see you again.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.